Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pastor Jardula is here.
I'm Fiorella.
And Oz, with the overalls, is on the ones and twos. No, he's not out in the field. He's in the studio. He's hanging with us, fam. We got a crazy show today, but, I mean, it's a crazy day. I mean, it's just like, you know, there's some days you wake up, you can feel the energy. It's just like crazy. We woke up to all this crazy news. Ron Paul, Ron Placone, Niko House, all this shit's going on crazy. The censorship is here. The fascism is knocking on the door, fam.
It's inside. It took a bath in your bathroom. It slept in your apartment, ate your food like an unwanted roommate. That's That's what's happening right now. That's where it's at.
There's a movie you probably wouldn't know, but we were talking about it yesterday. I did a show with this gentleman, David Lanzano, on elections. He ran for governor as a Republican in California, got about 20,000 votes. Hell of a guy. He is an ex-sheriff, but he did also do some law work for some people back in the days in civil rights movements and everything like that. So he's an amazing guy. I'll try to find the link to the show, but we talked about it. There was a movie, fam. It was called When a Stranger Calls.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's an old school movie because it was one of those popular movies. And she thought there was a guy at the door trying to mess with her. And then she gets on the phone and the cops are like, no, we've traced the call. The phone is coming from inside the house. Censorship, fascism, it's inside the house. And fam, it's no wonder it's here because a lot of these fucking cucks who cheered this shit on allowed this stuff to fucking happen. And guess what? They may have gotten us now, but they're coming for you next.
Yeah, they're gonna come after everyone. We've said this from the moment they took down our great friend. What's his name?
Alex
Jones. Yes. And
our
so
good friends.
from the moment they took down Alex Jones, we were like, oh no. Yeah. And now, they've taken down giants like the Ron Paul Institute. Remember, it's not just Ron Paul, it's the Ron Paul Institute that YouTube decided to take down. So we're going to be doing a segment on that.
That's crazy.
But we're going to start out with a couple of things that Pasta wanted to cover. Now, I'll probably push back on some of this because I still thought that the focus on these generals and their wokeism, even though I agree with her that it's stupid, that the military is doing this, I don't think that should be where the focus is. I still think that is pandering because the right does focus on all of that. To me, it's the equivalent of liberals focusing on, on a right-winger's language and how offensive it is. To me, it's the same shit. If you're going to focus on these people's wokeism, it's like, okay, do you see what's happening right now? Do you see what's going on here? And I just don't see that sense of urgency. I don't see that coming down and really talking about that. But, that's just a criticism in general that I have towards everybody as well, because people are hyper focused on their team and not really paying attention to what's going on.
You're referring to the Tulsi Gabbard interview with Megyn Kelly we're about to go into, which that part really didn't bother me as much. Don't get me wrong, and I want to put this out there. It will probably be a long time before I do another one of these videos again. I was very critical of the Congresswoman last week, so I thought it'd only be fair because she talked about some subjects I've been wanting her to talk about for a long time, and we'll get to those subjects. But that particular part too as well, I think it had a lot to do with going around the Afghan, because they were kind of going into the whole Afghan hearings that were going on in this just fucking terrible fall on your face fucking pullout by the United States government. Because, I wanted them out of there for a long fucking time, but the way they pulled out, everything that happened, and they kind of talked about the politics. It's bringing the politics into the military, which is unnecessary. So we'll kind of go over that and whatnot. But I do say that I still don't trust the Congresswoman 100%. I really don't. I wouldn't be voting for her today, even still, but being very critical of her and her being a big figure. And she might even run for president, who knows, down the road as an independent Republican. I doubt she'd run as a Democrat, even though she still says she's a Democrat. I thought it'd just be fair to do due diligence and cover this section so we could say our things. There are certain things. It was such a long interview, fam, that I couldn't put up there. But, once again, the reason why I'm so, kind of really pissed off at the Congresswoman, not pissed off, but not really ready to wear her shirt and support her, is because she sucks on Israel. She fucking sucks on Israel. And I hate that. And I know everybody sucks on Israel, but this is something I'm not going to let go. And you know me, that's not my number one issue. I'm not well versed in it and stuff. But what we witnessed last time with them bombing Gaza is just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And there wasn't a part that she was asked a question, but Megyn Kelly mentioned it. And she didn't mention go push back against it.
Again.
You know what I'm saying?
Because that happened on Tucker as well.
That happened on Tucker as well. So, that is an area to it as well. And there's also one last thing I want to talk about really quick before we get into this, just leading into this, is that there's a lot of people who wrote an article. There's one person in particular who wrote an article. A lot of people agreed and said that Tulsi hasn't changed. Her supporters have changed. No, that's not true. There has been a visible pivot now going on where she's not concentrating on the empire, like you said the other day. When's the last time we heard her say we have to end these regime change wars? Now it's Islamist ideology is the most important thing we have to worry about. I still take issue with that. However, after watching this interview once again, you see some vintage Tulsi that she'll say the things that she'll say. She's still better than all of Congress, don't get me wrong, but still to get my support, and I think to get Fee's support, I'm not going to speak for you, there ain't no half-stepping. Not on Israel, not on fucking foreign policy. You know, those are things you just can't fucking.
I mean,
get
she's
away
not. From. Yeah, she's not the Squad. I mean, I still think she's less. She's not like a hypocrite like the Squad. But I do think she's pandering to the right, and I do think like maybe some of her supporters are right. Like she didn't change her stance on drones. Well, she didn't really mention. Like people took it as, oh yeah, we'll use that when it's necessary. Not like this is going to be my focus now on eliminating Islamic extremists in Africa. Like that's not, because she never focused on that. She focused on regime change wars. But now I'm looking back, I'm like, well, she never really focused on Latin America. Remember, we said that was one of her weakest sides. Maybe that's exactly why, because of the immigration thing. Maybe she just didn't, share as much as what as she is now. Maybe now this is really who she is. I don't know. Whatever the case, the campaign she ran is extremely different than what she's saying now. Yeah. And her focus on imperialism coming from America has definitely shifted, because a lot of Republicans that I spoke to when I was canvassing for Bernie really liked her, but they still thought she was a little bit too much on the left, that she criticized America too much. So I would understand if I'm looking at it from a, political perspective. Oh, I'm going to go to the side that really pretty much embraced me versus the side that really pretty much made fun of me the whole time from the onset. So I get it. I don't agree with it, because then you're just playing politics. But I will give her credit for mentioning what we're about to discuss, which is the mandates. Yeah. Now we have to be very careful, Pasta, when we mention this, because they're literally taking down everybody today. So yeah. Reminder.
It's going to be crazy. Yeah, like I'm even thinking right now, like maybe we shouldn't even do it, because that's how sensitive we have to be right now with YouTube, fascist tube, doing that shit. And that's what they are. This should be mind-blowing to everybody out there, ladies and gentlemen, that they're doing that. Because I know a lot of people are saying, obviously you have the crowd cheering that on and stuff, the little establishment lackeys and whatnot. But this is really some fucking tough times, and fuck censorship. That's what Trey Wright says as he walks into the door. We love you, mate. We love you, Trey.
By the way, yesterday was Trey Wright's birthday.
Hey,
he didn't tell us. He didn't tell us. So happy birthday, Trey Wright. We love you very much. We appreciate you on this show. You're amazing.
You are.
And I hope you had an awesome birthday. He showed me some pictures of what he got, so it looked pretty cool.
Yes.
So yes, happy birthday, Trey Wright. Everybody send Trey Wright a happy birthday shout out.
Yeah. Hello, friends. Love you all, he says, and we love you. So let's get right into it right now. The Tulsi Gabbard Megyn Kelly interview. It's funny too as well, fam. I don't think that Tulsi will be calling us back and taking interviews for us, because I realized this yesterday. It's too dangerous for her to comment with us right now, because we'll ask questions that she probably doesn't want to be asked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She has a cunning way of not answering, or not necessarily getting involved in questions unless she's asked a direct question, which she's got this aura of like, well, where does she stand on that? Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't know. Right. She's great at that. She was never a great politician, but that's why I think she's changing right now and becoming more of a politician with the language that she used before. So let's take a look at Tulsi Gabbard has received some tough criticism lately from some anti-war advocates, claiming that there has been a shift in her rhetoric. The accusations state that the Congresswoman's statement that Islamist ideology is America's greatest threat is a far cry from a ending the regime change wars policy that puts the focus on the U.S. empire. That was a staple of her 2020 campaign. The Congresswoman has always been controversial anti-war. She's been a controversial anti-war candidate because of her acceptance of drones. The Congresswoman had a 90-minute interview with political commentator Megyn Kelly. So let's get into it. Now, fam, it's kind of funny because this particular situation right off the bat, she didn't take the bait. We got to remember who Megyn Kelly is, right? Megyn Kelly is a right-wing kind of commentator. She's not full-blown, like, neocon right and stuff like that, but always her stances on wars when she had Crenshaw on her show are kind of like, yeah, I'm not there. And once again, losing focus of imperialism and occupation is the problem. But here she tries to kind of bait Tulsi into this particular situation of saying, hey, why don't we leave some troops in Afghanistan? So take a look. And here's the Congresswoman's response.
I understand President Trump, when we had 15,500 still over there saying, we're not doing that. We're getting our guys and gals home. But I don't really understand as well we can't keep 2,500 there. Why not? Why not? There weren't protests in the street here. That's not a forever war. That's being strategic, keeping an eye out on Al-Qaeda, making sure they don't reestablish a foothold, right? I mean, Dan Crenshaw was on the program saying, you know, people like these pinpoint strikes. You know, we go in, we get bin Laden, we get out. Like, they love missions like that because the risk of blood and treasure American is lower. He's like, how do you think we were able to do that? We had advanced teams. We had a presence there. We had troops on the ground, boots on the ground that helped us understand where to go, how to get in, how to get out. You can't do that as a Navy SEAL, which he is, without some sort of meaningful force there. So what was wrong with 2,500?
I think you've got to look at that within the larger context of the Afghan government and the Afghan military forces and the Taliban and the reality of that threat on the ground there, and what would be required of the American people, our taxpayer dollars, and our servicemen and women to be able to sustain that. How much we have been putting in to prop up this corrupt government. So I agree that we need to make sure that we keep an eye on any growing or budding presence of other jihadist terrorist groups, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, etc., and make sure that we maintain the capability to go in and eliminate that threat as early as possible before it's allowed to metastasize and grow again and grow into an increased threat. But we have and we have the capability to do that, just as we have in different parts of the world, with this over the horizon very targeted strategic strike, and using our special forces, our special operators, to be able to go in and carry out these missions. I think that's critical.
Mm-hmm.
So she's talking about the over the horizon, send them in when it's necessary. She's still not about occupation. And the very next clip, I just have Megyn Kelly just kind of showing you the consistency of way they feel like for them. When you talk about Dan Crenshaw, you talk about Megyn Kelly, they still feel it's okay to have an occupying force in the country that's there.
And for me, Tulsi is still kind of pushing Anthony Blinken's foreign policy, in my opinion, because she's saying we're going to have targeted drone strikes, which, by the way, are extremely lethal to civilians. And, you know, we're going to eliminate any sort of budding extremism. Literally, the reason there's budding extremism is because we were in there in the first place. So to me, we're not going to resolve the issue by engaging in the same type of behavior that led us there in the first place, because now things have moved. The foreign policy has changed from occupation. It's still going to be warfare. It is, in fact, you know, we have private mercenaries now that have no accountability to anybody. So to me, she is still pandering to the right and still being like, okay, well, but she looks like, you know, submissive compared to Megyn Kelly, who is like, no, well, occupying is fine and blah, blah, blah. So I get it. And like, if I had to choose, obviously, you know, between the two, I would obviously side with Tulsi. But at the same time, I don't call that an anti-war candidate. And that's at all. Like, I still think like I can't, you know, if you're saying you're going to eliminate budding extremism, well, we're going to be doing that then forever, because there's always going to be that now. And so I just, it's still like, we're going to get them over there before they come get us over here type of mentality.
Yeah. I don't know if it's full blown Anthony Blinken, because I know he wants more occupation in Syria and go into these places, but it is definitely still a strategic drone fucking war attack. And those are things to think about. And I just watch how Megyn Kelly goes, yeah, I don't think we have that over the horizon capability anymore, like whatnot, you know, but I mean, I will give the Congresswoman this: consistent, always been about drones, not about occupation. However, that still leads to problems. I mean, drone warfare kills civilians. So, and I'm at that point, fam, I was years ago, because I always think about where I want to be and where we are now. So, right. So meeting people halfway, like, okay, we're not going to eliminate the military. We're not going to pull back all our bases in one shot. We have to start doing this left and right. So I wasn't okay with drone strikes, but I accepted the fact if that was the compromise between, you know, not going anywhere and fully going there, I was okay. But now I'm not okay with drone strikes at all. I've completely evolved. I'm done with that shit. But that's just me. So here's Megyn Kelly talking about how she feels that, well, we don't have the over the horizon kind of capability, just to get their mindset.
I know. I mean, I would like to believe that over the horizon will work just as well, but too many people who I trust have said that's a bunch of bull. We don't have anywhere near the intel capabilities that we need now. There was a report today in the Wall Street Journal, denied, I should say, by, I think it was Millie, just now, that we're negotiating with the Russians, that the Russians made us an offer saying, hey, you can use our bases to spy on Afghanistan. And that Millie actually spoke with his Russian counterpart about it. My God, okay, but he's denied it, so I don't know that it's true. And there's a real question about whether, how safe we can keep people when you got people like Millie saying 12 to 24 months, we're likely to see an attack back here, thanks to Al-Qaeda from some base in Afghanistan.
So you could see the mentality of the conservative mentality. And
I can't.
And that's like, and once again, she's like, I like to think we can do over the horizon, but we can't. Like, we have to have some form of occupying forces there. And that's the arena she's going to be entering to if she runs as a conservative. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that right now. That's their mentality. And that's where I think she's shifted. That's a neocon
mentality.
Yeah.
That's a neocon mentality.
Yes, it is.
So why are you trying to placate to these neocons? I always thought Tulsi, as if anything, more leaning towards a libertarian than like a she's conservative on some social issues, but I mean, like, as far as war, I saw her more as a libertarian. Now I'm kind of saying, like, wait a minute, why are you pandering to these people? Because these people aren't going to change. Eventually, they're going to push you to have some sort of occupation. And by the way, we do have the technology. We have the most powerful military in the world. We are occupying the South China Sea right now. We're surrounding China with vessels. I mean, it's not like we don't have occupations literally everywhere. It's just this sort of neocon mentality. Oh, they're going to attack us. There's going to be an attack. So the terrorist level, the high alert was raised to red. But in my opinion, now we have to look into the national security state, and we have to look into the intelligence agencies, because many times when these things happen, it's more of an attempt to control domestic unrest too. Like, so again, think about what happened post 9/11 and how our civil liberties were completely reduced. I sense that if there is some sort of anything, I don't put it past the United States to be behind it like they were on 9/11. And so again, like, it's just like this whole idea that, oh, no, we need to focus on eliminating these people. That's our number one focus. And it's not. Just look at what's happening right now. And I think Americans are getting really, really fucking tired of giving billions of dollars to Israel, billions of dollars to war. And they're starting to see that here things aren't working out. And they're starting to be, they're starting to not go to work. They're starting to start protesting. I mean, there's so many things going on right now. And I don't think this mentality of, oh, we have to go eliminate these radical extremists is really going to last. I don't think it's as big as we think it is. I think most people, even those on the right, are like, okay, let's just like focus on America right now. And so I just think it's wrong. It's the wrong move to try to placate to these people, the same way I think it's the wrong move for the left to placate to the shit libs who are, with their cloak of virtuosity.
Well, somebody asked me the other day, said Pasta, a friend of ours, and he says, well, what if Tulsi became president and she closed down half the bases and still had, and pulled back the regime change war and cut the budget by 25%? You wouldn't take that? I'm like, of course I would take that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, but that's not the concern for me. My concern is that once you start getting this mentality, it keeps snowballing.
It's the other way. It goes the other way.
You know what I'm saying? And then before you know it, we're spending $800 billion, on. It's
only gone up.
Yeah.
We talked about the Pentagon budget.
All
it's
the time.
Only gone up.
So that is my concern. So, but I want to say that on that particular situation, she was consistent. She didn't commit to saying we should keep special forces there. It was the over the horizon kind of attack of drone warfare, which I am totally against. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am fucking totally against it, and I still will. She should be the caveat queen, right? Okay, that's not the question. The question is, why do we have so many extremists? It's because of our occupation. Right. That was the Tulsi I want to see. Now, in all fairness, she was consistent to her views over here. She didn't take the bait, because I was wondering, like, is she going to change? Is she going to take the bait? Is she going to say, yes, let's keep Navy SEALs there?
Right.
She didn't. So I have to say, once again, still cause for concern. Now, there was a situation when Donald Trump was almost out of office, and Nancy Pelosi, the speaker, went running to Mark Milley and wrote a letter and was like, don't let Donald Trump have the nuclear codes. Don't let him do this, whatnot. And it was really kind of fucked up because she wasn't her place to do that. So here's the way Tulsi kind of went out there. And that's the thing. If you watch this interview, 90 minutes, it's kind of like she has this kind of Eisenhower-esque kind of mentality of like, she understands the cost of war. That was the thing about Eisenhower. A lot of people were like, he's a general, he's a war guy, but he understood the cost of war so much that it affected his policy moving forward. Not completely, but in a lot of cases, yes. So Tulsi has that kind of esque, that little Eisenhower-esque to her, which is something I can sometimes respect. But here she is going after the speaker in a very Tulsi way, where she doesn't tear into her, but she does kind of, straighten this whole situation out. Go right ahead, Oz.
What are you doing? You're calling up the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to say he's crazy, he's cray. I'm like, what is she doing?
That part doesn't surprise me. And it doesn't surprise me, Megyn, because having been a member of Congress through the Trump administration and through the Obama administration, the end of the Bush administration, the hysteria around Donald Trump was, it was off the chart, so much so that hey, you can agree with some of his things, you can disagree with some of his decisions or his positions or things that he says, but it's important as elected leaders in our country, responsible for serving all of the American people, not just people of your party or people of your district, but responsible for serving all of the American people, to be level-headed and to be able to examine each issue on their merits or not. And unfortunately, a lot of folks in the Democratic Party were so consumed by their hatred of Donald Trump that it got to a level of hysteria where I think that you lose that kind of objectivity that really the American people deserve in our decision makers, in our policymakers.
It shows her hysteria, not any lunacy by Donald Trump. Even if she had called, I don't know, somebody involved in elections and said, I'm really worried that Donald Trump is going to try to mess with the tallies of the Dominion voting machine, I'd say, all right, now maybe I don't think she's a lunatic for raising this, because he was so focused on it and he was making all these claims to his lawyers another way. But he's going to launch a nuclear weapon? Like, what? What do you say? Like, it does show
again,
the Trump
even if you have that concern, I think the concern under any administration around national security decisions, foreign policy decisions, I think we should keep in mind the fact that for us and Russia, for example, we still have a lot of nuclear missiles pointed at each other that can be launched within minutes' notice. So as from the national security and foreign policy perspective, and trying to prevent nuclear war, all of our leaders should understand what that process is, what the legal authorities are, and act responsibly in the best interest of the American people to try to prevent nuclear war. That's one thing, and I think that's an important thing, something that I care and have worked a lot on. It's another thing to kind of allow your hyper-partisan politics and hysteria to cloud your judgment as a leader. That's where we get into dangerous territory, and that's where we've seen so much of the toxicity and the divisiveness over the last, I would say under the Trump administration, but it's continuing on now still. It's tearing our country apart. It's undermining people's faith in our democracy and our leadership, and it's setting us down, or making it so that we are continuing down this kind of dangerous downward spiral. And there's a whole host of issues we can talk about with that, the direction of.
So vintage Tulsi again, now talking about the hysteria inside the Congress. I thought this was important to put up because she has been an advocate to stop and end nuclear weapons, reduce nuclear weapons, whatnot. And, there is a crazy hysteria within our Congress, what I'm saying, that is like the whole Russiagate thing, right? Like, that's a nuclear power. And this is something I just want to put up here because I thought Tulsi did a really good job at this, of explaining what's going on and the way the Congress works. And the fact that we had this just erratic Democratic Party because they had fucking TDS and it drove them fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So
no. Yeah.
All right. Now this is the part where a lot of criticism came out, the whole wokeism in the military. So she kind of lays it out over here and explains it. So I'm just curious to see your opinions about this part, because I know you heard about this, because well, let's just play it and then you give us your opinion. So take a look at this one.
Then you've got Admiral. Okay, hold on a second. Let me get it. Two examples. Admiral Michael Gilday, Chief of Naval Operations, bristled when he was questioned about why they're having the military read Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. They're having the sailors read that, just as General Milley defended it as well. And then the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, who we've been watching here all afternoon, he initiated sessions for military members to attend to discuss extremism in the ranks after the Capitol riot. It included establishing a countering extremism working group. Okay, that's what he wanted to do. Sounds good on paper. What did he do? Well, he got this guy, Bishop Garrison, a senior advisor to Austin, and the head of the Pentagon's countering extremism working group, to start talking to our troops about how to do this. This is a guy who in July 2019 tweeted, this is a quote, "Support for President Trump, a racist, is support for all of his beliefs. He's dragging a lot of bad actors, misogynists, extremists, other racists, out into the light, normalizing their actions. If you support the president, Trump, you support that. There's no room for nuance with this. There is no more, but I'm not like that talk." This is the guy who's going to be training our troops on how not to be an extremist. I mean, what's gone... Like, was the military always like this and we just didn't know?
like what? Promoting and propagating no. The answer to that is no. And the fact that this wokeism and this focus on quote unquote extremism is being kind of inculcated throughout our military, but even worse, that so many members or extremism is being used as an accusation against people in the military. Let's start with the basics, Megyn. What is extremism? How is it defined? Because I've listened to a lot of these briefings and I've listened to a lot of leaders talking about extremism now in the military because of those decisions that were made at the highest levels, that this is now a big focus, extremism in the ranks. What is extremism? Is it holding strong views on a particular topic? One could assume that for an individual, for an American to say, I am willing to die for my country, some might say that's kind of extreme. That's an extremely strongly held commitment to service, to our country, to our Constitution, to the ideals and freedoms that we hold dear. What is extremism? If you are a deeply religious person, if you are very disciplined in your religious or spiritual practices, could that be considered extreme? Some could argue, yes, it could be. And so for this term to be so loosely paraded about in such a negative light without any very specific definition on exactly what they're talking about, what they're essentially doing is casting this broad brush across people in the military and saying, well, hey, this is a real issue, extremism in our ranks, without any kind of definition. What they're doing is, it's offensive. It's offensive and it dishonors that very decision that every single man and woman who serves in our military and wears the uniform has made, saying, yes, I'm willing to die for my country. I'm willing to die to support and uphold and defend our Constitution. And so for our military leaders to forcibly exert this wokeism on our military and to jump on this bandwagon, which appears to be very popular these days in this administration and in kind of the mainstream media and the woke leaders, it's dangerous and it undermines the cohesion that's necessary within our ranks.
Fam, your opinions.
So what it does is it creates this, brings in politics in a section where there shouldn't be politics. If you're talking from a military perspective, right? For me, it's like we shouldn't even have the military that we have, et cetera. But if exactly. I'm going to go down to this level of, we have this military system, you shouldn't have hyper partisanship. You shouldn't even, your ideology is irrelevant. You're literally saying you're willing to put your life on the line to quote unquote defend your country, whatever that means to whatever, but like, so I don't give a shit about when you're on a battlefield and you're side to side, it's like racism, all of this stuff goes away. You're literally fighting for Team America. You're part of this same team. So what it's doing, it's trying to pit people within the military against each other, and it's going to fail massively. One, because it's hypocritical. Lloyd Austin sat on the board of Raytheon, and he's this guy that is just nobody. He shouldn't be talking about any sort of wokeism or like just inequality or calling Trump a fascist. You're a fucking warmonger. You sit on the board of Raytheon, like that. You're an imperialist. So you have no place to criticize and no place to impose your beliefs on every single member. And by the way, she's right. They're putting a giant paintbrush on what that means, because to me, it's kind of ironic because she says there's extremists in Africa, and what does extremism mean? Like, she talks about, people have extremist religious beliefs. Yeah, they do. That's the whole point. That's why it's like, okay, like I understand like that this is stupid, right? That this shouldn't be happening in the military. I think it's wrong. I especially because if they want to focus on making the military better, they might want to focus on the rapes and the sexual harassment that happens to women in the military. Big time. Like all that shit, like just like the treatment of women in the military. Maybe that's not wokeism. That's shit that really does need your focus. But instead, what they do is they focus on the ideology aspect of and saying, if you support Trump, then you support fascism. And it's like, it's such bullshit. There's no place in that anywhere, not just in the military, because we've seen what happens when it's out here in the world, in the country, and we've seen how that's divided our country. So she's right about that. I think she's focusing on it a lot, which makes sense because she is in the military and she does have to endure that. I just think like the greater picture is, why are they doing this? Why are people like Austin and politicians doing this? And how do we stop that, right? How do we stop that? Well, we stop it by talking about the truth, about our imperialism and about how we're being used to serve the interests of a very small class of people, and they're pitting us against each other. And that could lead you into the conversation of the censorship and everything else.
Fam, I just want to say ditto, and I know you hit it on the nose, and I knew you would, because number one, the first statement you said, I too would like to see a different type of military. I wish we had more peacekeepers than we do have actual, warriors or military men or whatever you want to call them and stuff like that. But that has to do with our foreign policy, not the people down below. And you're right. I remember when I was walked through a nuclear sub for the first time, and we walked on the USS Pittsburgh, and we walked through it, and they're like, okay, you're going to be living in here, less than 100 of you, just right under 100, and this is your home, and you have to protect it at any point. Then we went out of the submarine and into the simulator, into the building, which was the leak simulator. And it was a simulation if there's a leak in a sub and what you have to do to clog a leak. Well, at that point in time, when they start springing leak, and we just got off the sub for the first time, it was very surreal. We took it very seriously. And you have a black man, a white man, an Asian man. You don't give a fuck what that person is.
Can you tell me who you voted for in 2020?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Meanwhile, you're sinking.
Exactly.
Like, nobody's going to fucking do that shit.
Don't give a fucking damn. So that's why you don't have to insert this stuff into the military. It does happen naturally. It should never be allowed. Don't get me wrong. We saw situations when I was in boot camp. There was some dude who came in from Arkansas, and he refused to stand up and listen to a black a petty officer. And guess what? His ass was sent fucking home. So, you know what I'm saying? That's something you don't have to interject. It is interjecting your politics into this whole thing.
Right.
And it almost seems like the military, like the Democrats or the establishment, is trying to cause that so they can get rid of the people and have the military on their side. And the thing about it is, if the Republicans were doing this in another way, I think that Tulsi would be just as solid on that and say, no, you shouldn't be interjecting your politics, even from a conservative point of view, in this situation as well. Yeah. So I have to give it up to the Congresswoman on this one. I think she is consistent about this. I know a lot of people went after her, and she's like, oh my God, she doesn't want, people to be fair to each other in the military.
That's not what was being discussed.
Exactly.
At all.
So that's why I put this particular clip up. So I have to tip my hat off to the Congresswoman on this one. We only have 3 more clips, and then we'll get on to the next section. We haven't talked about this a lot, too, as well, when it comes to the John Durham situation with Hillary Clinton. And the reason why I haven't talked about it is because we did talk about it briefly. When it came to Klippenstein, who changed an email to present it to the Pfizer court to get a warrant to spy on the Trump fucking campaign, and he got caught changing a fucking email to a Pfizer court, and guess what he got? Probation. Nobody goes to jail for anything, so that's why I don't pay attention to a lot of these things. But John Durham has started to release his investigation on how the Hillary Clinton campaign, along with their lawyer, started the whole Russiagate fucking thing. We knew, duh, for some of us. But let's just go over this one small part because they talked briefly about this, because I love the way that Tulsi kind of focuses on the elites again. But then again, she starts drawing these parallels to D. Trump again. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about this one.
Well, you were one of the first people I thought of the other week when the John Durham investigation, he had to get his indictment against this one guy filed, or otherwise the statute of limitations was going to run. And so we got our first real peek at where the John Durham investigation into how Russiagate started is going, where his investigation, and where it's going is that Hillary Clinton is behind it, that Hillary Clinton is the one who put out what she knew to be false propaganda about Trump, the Russians, people around Trump and the Russians, suggesting that there was some server in Trump Tower that connected with a Russian bank, and this is how they were back channeling with Putin about how to get Trump elected and so on. It was her, it was the DNC, it was her operatives, and she had so many people from lawyers to political operatives doing her bidding. It's no wonder that's how she tried to take your legs out. She just went right back to her favorite go-to, the Russian thing, Russia, Russia, Russia. And so many on the left side of the aisle in particular fell for it and still believe it, Tulsi, still believe it. So your thoughts on that, on what we saw with the Durham investigation?
Well, first of all, Megyn, I'm sure that you were just as impressed as I was to see how the mainstream media covered this story and blasted it all over their airwaves, right?
Right.
Every headline.
It's huge.
Revealing the truth. Shock. Amazing. Yeah. Maybe in an alter universe that occurred.
Right.
But it's people like you and others who've been really drawing attention to this, which is not such a big reveal for those of us who've been involved directly with it. I mean, it points to, and the reason why isn't the mainstream media covering this? Why aren't they pointing to Hillary Clinton and holding her responsible and accountable for her actions and those of her associates, their collusion with the deep state? I know you've talked before about how this guy was supposedly duped the FBI about who he was working for. They claim they had no knowledge of it, working with the mainstream media to sell these lies. I mean, it points to the playbook that they use, the power elite. It points to the playbook that they use to silence, censor, and eliminate those who they view as a threat to their power, those who are outsiders, Democrats and Republicans, people like me, people like Donald Trump, who dare to challenge them, who won't toe the line, who's not going to go along with the establishment talking points and policies, and who dare to say, hey, you know what? I'm putting country first. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican in power. I'm interested in putting our country and the interests of the American people first. They see people like us who are outsiders as threats, and the actions that are being shown now through this indictment, what we saw play out throughout the last elections, this is exactly what they do. And the worst part about it is they get away with it. And so they keep doing it. And they're working in cahoots with each other to.
And they're working in cahoots with each other, fam. She talked about the wrestling, talked about the whole situation. Your thoughts on that? I know there was a lot of people who were going to say, because there's been people who have come at us when we're like, Donald Trump is not a fucking outsider, right? Come on.
He's
please.
not. That's the thing. He's not. So
I want to hear your opinions on this
saying that he is when he's not. Donald Trump literally did not pardon Julian Assange under his administration. We've now confirmed that Pompeo wanted to assassinate him and pretty much diminish the rights, the First Amendment rights that journalists like Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras had. and you know, and change and label WikiLeaks as an agency that threatens our national security. So no, Trump is no outsider. He literally told people to take the jab. He also talked about Operation Warp Speed. He's no outsider. And again, I think and this is, you know, my personal view.
Do you think this is a strategic move is what I'm asking?
What?
Do you think it's a strategic move that she's saying that he is an outsider and kind of comparing?
Yeah, she is. I think it's a strategic move, but I also think again, it's also pandering because the right does the same thing. You have people like DeSantis, right? Who's like, oh yeah, censorship is wrong. We need to stop censoring. Then literally goes and makes protesting illegal effectively. It makes, you know, it's so easy to call a protest a riot and then start arresting people. You have this team sports mentality still on the right of people, and sometimes they call them outsiders, but really at the end of the day, if you're doing the same thing that the left is doing just on your end of the spectrum, you're still playing team sports. You're not an outsider. You're playing to the cultural grift that's happening. And that's what I don't agree with her on at all. Like, Trump is no outsider. We need an outsider to me, more than Trump would be somebody like Thomas Massey. And he's not even all the way there for me either, but he's like more of an outsider. He's more of an honest politician. I don't see people like Trump as an outsider. And, you know, I used to see Tulsi as an outsider, but now if you're going to be pandering to the right, are you really an outsider? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying she is or she isn't at this point, but I'm just saying, like,
it's suspicious.
It's weird. And I just, you know, I get what she's saying though, that I agree with her that there is that establishment that if you don't toe the line at all, like for 1 second, they will come after you because they came after her and they've come after anybody that doesn't toe the line, especially, you know, people of color who are supposed to be the tokenized people that go along with it. Yeah. And so I've seen that happen.
The comments on Durham and talking about the mechanism that's there. I always love that stuff, exposing the establishment for what it is. But yeah, I was very curious because a lot of people have reached out to us. Like, there was somebody who left the YouTube comments like, it's unbelievable that you two don't believe that Donald Trump is an outsider. Just because he's aligned on certain issues doesn't mean that he's not an outsider.
That's not why.
The establishment hated him on both sides, and even the Republicans, they went after him and stuff like that. So there's, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I don't know, the strategic move to kind of align herself with that, you know what I'm saying? It seems like, because remember the language towards Donald Trump back in the days, Donald Trump is Saudi Arabia's bitch. You know what I'm saying? This is like a far cry to like, oh, outsiders like me and Donald, you know? So, I mean, suspicious at best. Like her talking about is once again, focusing on the establishment and the elites and Hillary Clinton and everything they do. That is great, but it's suspect some of the other stuff. Now, the last two clips we're gonna push to the very end. We're not gonna do it now. I don't want to take a chance, fam. We'll just go back to 10 and 11 Oz at the end for the last one when we go on Rokfin only, because that is some of the good juicy part, and that's something that we have to really give some credit to the Congresswoman, but we can't do it now. YouTube is on a crazy fucking tear, so we're gonna get to the next topic. So if you guys want to see the last two clips on Tulsi, join us on Rokfin for the fourth one. We'll get back to it. So let me address some people in the crowds, and then we'll get on to the next section. Okay. Hopefully all you out there watching, you know, we love our fans, and please, thank you so much for the support. Kristen Nye, thank you for the Super 8 contribution. It is always
okay. That's
appreciated on the couch.
No,
Ma'am,
too much.
We need to do it.
No, you didn't need to.
All right. No. Here's a new one. Tegderb Nam Marag. Tegdrib Nangmarag. Oh my, look, you try to say that name.
I wouldn't. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry. Teg, what's up? Thank you for the super great contribution. As always, appreciate it on the couch.
Guys, write something. Damn it.
Don't, because the next one's going to
my ears. Like, you don't understand.
It's going to be huge.
Pasta is like death in one ear. I swear he is.
I am not deaf. I hear everything fine. What? So, fam, let's get to the next ones here, because
look,
I have some comments about this one. I'm going to go after people, fam. So you start.
So we're not going to go over the in-depth one. Pasta has already gone over the 500 pages of the infrastructure bill with shadow ban refugee. They need to finish that. The reconciliation bill is even longer. It's 2,700 pages long. So we're not going to go over the all of the sections today. I'm just going to point out some things that you may or may not have heard us cover, but I'm going to talk about what's going on right now in Congress, because progressives are holding out for the reconciliation in the Build Back Better Act. And I'm going to explain, because it's so confusing the way this happens, and they do this by design, right? So what is Build Back Better? So I'm going to go ahead and read to you a little bit of what is the Build Back Better situation. Because
it's a bumper sticker, fam.
This is part of the Joe Biden administration. So just so you guys know, before I start reading, the Build Back Better consists of both the infrastructure bill and the reconciliation bill. That is the Build Back Better agenda. It's part of the Biden administration. So they say it's an ambitious plan to create jobs, cut taxes, and lower costs for working families, all paid by making the tax code fairer. Fairer? Okay.
Fairer.
I just don't like that. And making the wealthiest and large corporations pay their fair share. Lower costs, lower childcare costs, lower higher education costs, lower prescription drug costs, lower healthcare costs, lower housing costs. Notice how everything is extremely vague. But if you click on that, it's going to give you more details. So you guys can go and read that. Cut taxes for families with children, taxes for workers without children. Create jobs, workforce training, and whatever that means, and then clean energy jobs and investments in teachers and schools. So if you look at that whole thing, right, they're going to talk about pretty much expanding Medicare, making college more affordable, pretty much general incremental policies that may or may not come to anything, right? Because that's what they did when Sanders ran on, we're going to get Medicare for all, we're going to make college free, we're going to do this. Like, they've taken that and just pretty much given the bare minimum and put a gigantic golden bow on it and made this turd inside this box with this gigantic bow sound like it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's not. And so that's what the progressives are holding out for. They want this Build Back Better agenda. So like I said, there are two parts: the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill that Oz has on the screen right there. And this is the part that progressives are asking for before approving the infrastructure bill, which the Senate already approved. And that's the $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill that Aposta and Shadowban went over. The first 500 pages is a giveaway to the big oil.
Yep.
It's just going to diminish a lot of our rights as well. It's privatization.
Yep.
It is just a massive giveaway to the 1%, and the progressives admit it. So this is why they're saying, well, we want this reconciliation bill to be better, but within both of these pieces of legislation, which were not necessarily meant to be two, there's a lot of pork. There's a lot of bullshit that shouldn't be out there. You have 2,400 and 2,700 plus pages of shit that shouldn't be in there. They could minimize these and make them a few pages long. The reason they don't do it is so you don't read. Nobody reads it, including the people that are voting on it.
I just want to say it's this whole idea of these huge bills that they give out at 1 second, and the fact that's how you know it's fucked up itself with so many pages, and they barely even get to read this thing before they vote on it. But the fact that we're not having robust discussions on the floor about these bills, that's a big no-no. If you want to put forth a bill, let's say you do want to put forth the 2,700-page bill, you better have weeks of sessions on the floor so the American people can go see what you're doing, what you're talking about, and how it's going to be spent, because these bills, the money never reaches where it needs to go. And all this thing, we're going to lower the tax on this person and lower the tax and raise the tax on the rich. Who do you think is getting that money? Who do you think is getting the contracts for this stuff? I mean, this is disgusting. The fact that they are suppressing conversation and debate on the floor on how they're going to do all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And there is everybody's going, well, how are you going to pay for it? And the MMT people are going, oh, we print our own money. We can just print it for that. Yeah, well, the more money you print, the less the less value our money has. And don't tell me that inflation doesn't exist, because I remember when I drove my first fucking car, it was 99 cents a gallon for gas. We're now at $5 a gallon for gas. And guess what? As a waiter in the restaurant business, my pay never fucking changed. It stayed the same. So you have to think about these things. And the fact that they're not even having a debate on the floor on every single part of this bill, and they're trying to rush it through. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, to see these progressives going, oh, yay, look what the squad has gotten us, with no discussion, no debate on the fucking floor. Let me tell you something about a Green New Deal. It fucking sucked. It wasn't a good fucking bill whatsoever. And then they didn't even mention how the fucking ozone layer is affected by bombs being dropped. There's so many things about the fucking, it was just a big giant fucking virtue signal. And that's all you progressive care about. This big giant fucking virtue signal they're throwing at you now. Oh, we're going to get trillions from the squad fam and the reconciliation bill. And it's going to trickle down to the people.
They don't even know what's in it.
You don't even know what the fuck's in it. And there's no debate on the floor for it. So.
Okay. So, first of all, let's go over what's going on right now in Congress, right? Because Pelosi and Biden have been involved in negotiations right now. So Biden's trying to convince everybody to come to an agreement and pass, because if it doesn't pass today, if they don't come to an agreement today, the government will supposedly shut down. This is always the situation we're in. It's always the bullshit we're in. So Biden and Pelosi embark on the late scramble to save the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Like, this is from the Washington Post. So I'm going to read a little bit about what's happening here. So it's uncertain that what's happening, because the House Democrats hope to hold a vote today to adopt the package and send it to the president's desk, though it still remains at a risk of faltering as a result of the party's fast widening internal divisions. Democrats generally support the infrastructure bill, which includes major new investments in the country's aging roads, bridges, pipes, ports, and internet connections. But the proposal has become a critical political bargaining chip for liberal-leaning lawmakers who have threatened to scuttle it to preserve the breadth of a second, approximately $3.5 trillion economic package. Now, that $3.5 trillion package is spread over 10 years. That's never mentioned, ever. But that's what it is. One of the moderates includes Kristen Sinema, who has been literally trending on Twitter because she refuses to vote for the infrastructure bill, and of course Joe Manchin, who, by the way, they both want to scale it back, but Joe Manchin literally just said this morning that they must include the Hyde Amendment in this infrastructure bill. The Hyde Amendment is the amendment that prevents any sort of insurance coverage, any sort of coverage for abortions. He's one of these obviously conservative Democrats. Yeah, he's going there. And so by last night, the things seem to be worsening, which is why you saw Sinema trending on Twitter. So they were hoping to find an agreement on something smaller than $3.5 trillion, yet they hadn't found this agreement. Manchin doubled down with a fiery statement in which he starkly opposed trillions of dollars in spending, and he cast doubt on the possibility that any such deal could come together in time for the House's scheduled Thursday vote on infrastructure. So there's that. So if they don't have a deal, right? Nancy Pelosi is like attempting to figure this out. She wants to put the infrastructure bill on the floor, even though the progressives are like, no, our deal was we get the reconciliation bill and then we vote on the infrastructure, because they're sneaky, because what they want to do is vote on the infrastructure bill and then there's no leverage, there's no impetus to get anything from the reconciliation bill. That's what they're trying to do, right? And so Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders have said that they're going to stick with the original plan, which is put the infrastructure bill first, and she plans to bring it on the floor. Now, Manchin said he called for continued negotiations for the package. He expressed optimism about a future agreement, stressing that he cannot and will not support trillions in spending or an all or nothing approach that ignores the brutal fiscal reality our nation faces. Okay, so by the way, Manchin is one of the most corrupt people we have, right? And notice like that those are crumbs that the reconciliation bill is giving for the American people. It's crumbs. They won't even do that. That just goes to show you how bad it is here. They won't even do that. So Pramila Jayapal, right, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, to which there are at least maybe 100 and something members, wagered that there will probably be even more people willing to vote no on the infrastructure than first anticipated, as her allies scramble to preserve as much as they can in their prized $3.5 trillion package. Jayapal said as many as half in her roughly 100-member bloc would vote against the public works measure in the absence of a clear deal with the Senate moderates about the way forward. So if they don't get the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill or some form of that, they say they're not going to fold, right? So my question to you, everybody, and my attempt to explain it is, why are these progressives so enamored with this reconciliation bill, right? What's in it? What are the highlights, right? Because it's fucking long as hell, longer than the Bible. So Katie Porter, who just voted to on the Iron Dome, put out this tweet, and we're going to watch this video, but I'm going to read the tweet first. She said, improved infrastructure, affordable childcare, better healthcare, and climate action are all part of the president's agenda. Again, incrementalism. Remember what progressives started with, right? This is where they're ending up, and they're not even going to get that. The American people need Congress to deliver on every single one of these problems. We need both the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better Act. Here she's misspeaking, because the infrastructure bill is the Build Back Better Act in addition with the reconciliation bill. It's so fucking confusing, they don't even know. So let's play the little clip.
We want to vote yes on infrastructure, but we also want to vote yes on childcare and on healthcare, on climate policy. This is the president's agenda. These items were never intended to be in two bills. And so whether they're split up into 2 bills or 10 bills, we need to pass them all. And I think that is what we're trying to accomplish. And right now we're simply waiting for the Senate to come back to us and say, what will they vote for? What is acceptable to Joe Manchin? What's acceptable to Kristen Sinema? We can't negotiate against ourselves.
Right. Okay. So you notice what she said. It wasn't necessarily intended to be in 2 separate bills. It's all part of the Build Back Better Act. So what they're negotiating is how much of that reconciliation bill gets in there. A portion of it is going to get in there because it's part of Joe Biden's fucking plan. Now, is it going to be watered down? Yeah, absolutely. So again, look where we started. We started with Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage. None of that shit is happening. Now they're just talking about expanding, incremental change. And that is apparently too controversial for the Democrats. So they're going to scale that back. So imagine what you're going to fucking get when this goes through. You're going to get Scarol. So
Ugats. Say Ugats.
Whatever. CNN opinion article by Pramila Jayapal, by Ilhan Omar and Katie Porter. They wrote an op-ed. So I'm going to try to read some of it so you guys could kind of understand why they're so obsessed with this. So they said, when President Joe Biden announced in the spring his plans for a once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's future, he said that it is not enough to restore where we were prior to the pandemic. We need to build a stronger economy. This does not leave anyone behind. We need to build back better. By the way, I'm not really going to go into it this time, but I've already said countless times, Build Back Better is the part of the Great Reset. It's part of what is coming next. The technological merger of with your credit score, with your health, with everything. That is part of the Build Back Better situation. So that is our shared vision, the vision of American people, the vision the American people voted for, blah, blah, blah. It's what we must deliver. Nancy Pelosi has announced her intention that the House vote this week on a transformative economic package and a major investment in infrastructure. Congress now faces a choice: advance the entirety of an agenda that gets American families the help they need, or deliver only a fraction of it. That's why we, as leaders of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, remain committed to voting for the infrastructure bill only after the Build Back Better Act is passed. And again, the Build Back Better Act is a reconciliation bill plus the infrastructure bill. So, but they're saying that the Build Back Better, the reconciliation bill is the good part of the Build Back Better. You need to put that part in order to pass the whole thing. If you do not do that, they're not going to vote for it. So, God, then she goes and they talk about throw up, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then she says parents can't get back to work because they can't find affordable childcare. Again, affordable childcare should be free. Young people are infuriated that their country's leaders are not taking aggressive enough steps to leave them on a livable planet. Supposedly there is climate justice action. There's really not. It's bullshit. The Green New Deal is already bad. Think about it being less. Families are struggling to stay healthy in dangerous, crumbling public housing. Immigrant communities are tired of living under the threat of deportation. Literally, Joe Biden is doing this right now, and this is his plan. So, okay, people cannot afford the prescription drugs they need. Sure, but now we're supporting big pharma and everything they say, and they're making billions off of this pandemic. So there you go. In short, Americans need the Build Back Better agenda. This agenda was divided into two concurrent bills: the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act and the Build Back Better Act. The Infrastructure Investment and the Jobs Act will allow for long overdue updates to our country's roads, bridges, and waterways. Those updates are minimal. They never get to where they need to get. We have disastrous roads here. We are like taking away the pavement from many roads in this country. I highly doubt that money's going to go where it's going to go, but that's reportedly the intention. But it is a Build Back Better Act that will deliver the child care, climate action, affordable housing, immigration reform, and lower drug prices that Americans need, deserve, and voted for. So again, the Build Back Better Act is just minimal, right? So those are the focus, basically: the affordable child care, pre-K, and affordable housing. The whole affordable housing thing is so broad. What do you mean by affordable housing? How are you going to implement that in a state like California where literally everybody is bought by the investment developers? Literally, how are you going to do that? We've been told that affordable housing is coming to the thousands of people that are unhoused. It never fucking happens. When they put out general shit like this, they do it for the purpose of no specifics, because they don't have a plan. So again, this is just bullshit. And it is better than nothing, but
I don't know.
I mean,
but
maybe.
I don't know.
But because they're putting in all this really, really worrisome legislation that we're going to go into next, a few of them, right? And they talk about a Jobs Act, like taking care of deficient bridges, poison water, et cetera, right? So they're talking about how they're not gonna give in, and they're gonna continue pushing for that. So that's that. And I'm just going to read some of the tweets, because the entire Progressive Caucus has been tweeting that they're going to hold the line, right? And they're not going to vote on this infrastructure bill. So Pramila Jayapal said, as soon as we pass the Build Back Better bill with long overdue investments in working families, progressives will vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That's the deal we agreed to more than 3 months ago. Stick to it. Rokana, the deal has always been that infrastructure and the Build Back Better bill will pass in tandem together. Democrats have the White House, the House, and the Senate. We need to deliver our entire agenda for the American people. That is key there. The Democrats have a full, like they have all three houses. Why don't they like do it? It's because they don't fucking want to. They're just stringing people along. Corey Bush, a reminder that this is what bipartisanship got us for the infrastructure package. This is a half measure. That's why we can't support this bill without first passing the Build Back Better Act to deliver the resources our communities desperately need. The next one is Jeff Merkley. I voted for the infrastructure bill with the promise that it would be passed alongside the Build Back Better plan. That was the deal. House progressives are right to demand that we make good on it. Investments in roads and bridges and investments in families must go hand in hand. So they're trying to put investments in the roads and bridges without giving people anything. And again, the infrastructure bill gives a lot of wealthy people a lot of money. Pramila Jayapal, it's not the infrastructure bill, then maybe the Build Back Better Act package down the road. That wasn't the deal. Progressives won't back down. We're fighting the people's fight, and we're going to deliver the entire Build Back Better agenda. Rep Katie Porter, the Build Back Better bill is popular because it deals with real problems families are facing: difficulties in affording childcare and elder care, the cost of college, and concerns about the climate crisis. Congress must work to get President Biden's agenda over the finish line. Vice President Kamala Harris, the American people overwhelmingly support the Build Back Better agenda. Let's get this done. So as you can see, it appears that the Biden administration is on board with the Build Back Better Act. So are the progressives, right? That should worry you. Why would the Biden administration, Joe Biden, 1994 crime bill, segregationist, pro-war, Joe Biden, why after what's going on with the Haitians at the border, after he has literally just backed off anything he ran on, like student debt relief, which we see none of that in the Build Back Better, all of this stuff. Why is Joe Biden supporting Build Back Better? Why are the progressives so ardently pushing it? Is it because they really want to deliver these minimal shit wrapped in a nice box to the American people, or is there something else to it? And I'm not going to get to all of that today, but I will mention a couple things. So the last tweet I wanted to point out was AOC retweeting Joe Biden, because Joe Biden said the bipartisan infrastructure deal and the Build Back Better agenda will create good paying jobs and lower costs for families. Together, they will grow the economy for everybody. Again, notice the vagueness, the broad, the general. This is just shit they say. Now, AOC retweeted that and said, together indeed, POTUS, from Medicare expansion and universal pre-K to climate action and housing infrastructure investment, we can truly accomplish all of this and more when we join our priorities for the betterment of our country. It's time to build back better together. Notice how they're all using the same exact words. And notice how it went from Medicare for all to Medicare expansion, universal college to universal pre-K, Green New Deal to climate action, and housing is a human right to housing infrastructure investment. Notice what they're doing here. The merger of the quote unquote progressive contingent with the establishment Biden administration as a causeway to the Build Back Better, as if that's going to improve working families. No direct cash payments, no rent cancellation, nothing about expanding a national moratorium of any sort, nothing about student debt relief, nothing about Medicare for all during a pandemic, nothing about job protection, like in terms of a job guarantee, nothing like that. But now it's the greatest thing since the New Deal. Do you see how they're psychologically like creating this whole idea like that it's so amazing? Well, those are it's bullshit, right? But it gets worse, because as I said, there is the Great Reset that a lot of people have been talking about here. And these are the Build Back Better fails. For one, the IRS would be tracking all bank transactions over $600 under Biden's plan. And businesses have been speaking out against this.
And that's in Venmo and PayPal and all that shit.
All of that stuff. Yeah. They're going to be monitoring your ass as soon as this thing passes. That is part of it.
Because they need the money from you.
Exactly. And the other thing, because we kind of talked about that already, but the other thing I wanted to point out again is a national mileage tax pilot tucked away in Biden's 2,700-page infrastructure bill. And so they're voting on this soon, and it includes funding for roads and bridges, public transit, airport, waterways, and more. Who is in charge of transportation? Oh, that's right, Pete Buttigieg. Buried on page 508 is a national motor vehicle per mile user fee pilot. The purpose of the pilot would be to test the feasibility of a national per mile charge, as well as increase public awareness of what this policy might look like. Okay, so they're going to try to say that you need to reduce your mileage. You only have a certain amount of mileage. Because we're going to reduce carbon emissions, but it's on you, the poors, right? The rich still get to fly their jets. The rich still get to put their money offshore so they don't have to be monitored by the IRS, right? You see what I'm saying? All of this legislation is an attack on the working class, and it's hidden by these, incremental supposed giveaways to the working class. The last one is one of the most nefarious things I have seen. Biden's vax mandate is going to be enforced by fining companies $70,000 to $700,000. You're putting these people out of business and in debt forever. This will be included in the Build Back Better Act, just so you guys know. Buried on page 168 of the House Democrats' 2,465-page mega bill is a tenfold increase in fines for employers that willfully and repeatedly or even seriously violate a section of labor law that deals with hazardous death or physical harm to their employees. This is where they're going to tie the COVID mandates and all of that other stuff. The increased fines on employers could run as high as $70,000 for serious infractions and $700,000 for willful or repeated violations. Almost $750,000 for each fine. If enacted into law, vax enforcement could bankrupt non-compliant companies even more quickly than the $14,000 OSHA fine anticipated under Biden's announced mandate. So guys, there you freaking go. And I'm just going to read this part from Forbes. the Biden administration has already started implementing its vaccine mandate enforcement blueprint. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, sets precedent this summer and published an emergency COVID-19 rule in the Federal Register, taking jurisdiction over and providing justification for COVID-19 being a, quote, workplace hazard for healthcare employment. Early in September, Biden announced his 100 or more employee COVID-19 vaccine mandate and tasked OSHA with drafting an enforcement rule to exert emergency vaccine compliance authority over 100 companies, with 100 or more employees. The legislative provision that passed the Budget Committee raises the OSHA fines for non-compliance 10 times higher and up to $700,000 for each willful or repeated violation. Speaker Nancy Pelosi has not announced when the House will vote on the reconciliation bill, and that includes a new OSHA. So that's supposed to be today. That's supposed to be today, just so you guys know. So while progressives are cheerleading the squad for holding the line on this reconciliation bill, the Build Back Better Act, those things will be in there. I'm sorry. That is unacceptable. Okay. If I were one of them, I would say, unless you take these things out, I'm not fucking voted for either of them. Yeah. But none of them are doing that. None of them are doing that. And none of these progressives I have seen ever, and even on this fucking YouTube shows, I haven't seen any of these people point that shit out. None of these people are pointing this shit out.
Because this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is what we found.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
It's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much shit in there. Listen, I'm going to throw a little monkey wrench into the whole situation and say, listen, I don't give a shit, period, if they took this shit out. You know why? Because these bills shouldn't be this long, and they should be debating on the floor, robust debate about what's in each one of these bills. That's something that's just gone. Now they're just going to bring them to the floor and vote on something which they don't even know, which the American people don't know about. You know, I used to use the term kabuki theater. Well, for sure, that's what this fucking thing is all about.
Right.
You know, the other day, Justin Amash was on Face the Nation or something like that. And they were talking about cinema, and they were talking about Joe Manchin. You know what he pointed out, Justin Amash? You might not like them or anything or like their ideologies, but they're the only ones who are participating in the fucking debate here, what's going on. Everybody else just gets in line with their team. They get their old little cliches together. Build back better. Let's all use it. Let's throw build back better out there. And then a bunch of progressives just look at the rhetoric and go along. How many progressives out there are saying we should vote for this shit, we should push this shit, and they don't even know within the fucking bill?
They don't even know that this shit is in it.
And there's a lot more.
There's a lot more.
We're not even having debates on the floor. All they do in Congress now is they argue with each other. They go out, they hit their Twitters up, they do their media fucking appearances, and they come back to vote and make it seem like they're fucking working for the American people. Enough is enough with these fucking bills. 2,700 page bills. I heard that the first time they passed this out to the House members on the floor, fam, it was half the fucking bill. That they didn't even have the whole goddamn bill to give to people because it was still being written. So they were telling people, well, don't worry, we'll get it to you and stuff like that. And now they're going to rush it through, and there's no debate on the floor. The American people don't know what's going on. But enough with this shit.
And this is like you said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to continue looking more into this. But I mean, today's the day, right? Yeah. Like today's the fucking day. And I know more that's in this bill than some of these Congress people that are voting on it, than some of these progressives, than some of these progressives fucking cheerleading this without even taking a second look at this. Why are the people looking at this on the right or libertarians or not in power? Why isn't our Congress actually giving, hey, people, by the way, do you know that the Build Back Better Act is this? This is what I'm talking about here. It's no conspiracy. This is part of that. This is the whole thing, is to make us dependent on the fucking on the establishment. It's to gain more control, to diminish our ever diminishing civil liberties, our civil rights. This is what's happening, and this is like the little bit of it. This is just like, I'm giving you some little crumbs that I'm trying to get people to understand how this isn't what they're making it out to be. They're making it out to be like Biden is FDR and he's putting out this new deal and it's just going to save everybody. No direct cash payments, by the way. Nothing to actually help people, lift people out of fucking poverty. None of that. And they're all patting themselves on the back. Look, we're holding the line. We're fighting for this shit, to find people, to put them out of work, to put businesses out of work, to fucking control how much you fucking drive, to monitor your bank. Do you not see the freedoms you are giving up for breadcrumbs that they're even not even going to give you.
Yeah.
So
and you don't even know how they're going to give it to you because you don't even read the bill. You don't even understand the mechanism of everything's going on. So you take these fucking statements, these generalized statements. Oh, the Build Back Better Act is going to help people, moms for their children, for their child care. Oh, that's good. But you don't understand the mechanism in which they're going to do that. You don't even read the bill, and they're not even debating that on the fucking floor. That's what Congress is supposed to be there.
Because they don't release it till like a few days
before they pass it.
Who's going to read all
like
that?
The CARES Act.
It's just like the CARES. Exactly.
Remember the fucking hearing we showed you, and it was like, listen, they gave us this bill right here. It's 1,800 pages. They gave it to us 24 hours before we have to vote on it. And I didn't even have a time. And it was a congressman from Maine, and his eyes were like fucking bags because he was like, we were up all night trying to read it, and it was obvious that this bill was mostly written by lobbyists that you could drive a fucking truck through it.
As most of them are. And
now you want to say that this shit is good? And once again, I'm going to go back to this because we have to start doing this. You have to start calling your Congress people, say, how come there's no debate on the floor for this? How come you're not telling the American people? How come these bills are 2,700 pages, 1,000 pages, 1,800 pages, and you're passing it right away? You're trying to dupe the fucking American people. We need robust fucking debate on the floor on what's going to happen. And when you people say, well, who's going to pay for it? And they always say that shit, and they have money for war. That's another thing. But here we can show you what Fee just put up, that on the mileage tax that you're going to pay for it at the gas fucking pump. It's going to be on your fucking dollar. That's what me and Shadowban pointed out in our video, is that you're going to pay for some of this shit. It's not going to be from taxing the fucking rich. They just throw you that out there, and they don't even show you the mechanism in which it's going to be fucking made. And guess who's getting these contracts?
The lawyer taxes only for you to pay a tax somewhere else.
Exactly.
That's how they fucking bait and switch you.
You, the people, will have to fucking suffer on this shit. End of story.
Oh, man.
So fucking stupid. Okay. Benny Massimo, Jimmy Dore tweeted, I was wrong about Tulsi. You have to call out the fakes. Okay, that's his opinion. And that's.
I'm glad he did that. I'm glad Ron did that too. I saw that.
Yeah, he said he was very disappointed.
Yep.
Benny, I hear you. John Kemper, pasta. Shh. We love you guys. Hate government. Cam Schwari Kate says reconciliation. Today, Canada has a national day of truth and reconciliation. No truth, no reconciliation.
We live in a cartoon.
All right, so Shadowman Refugee, here's the guy we're talking about. This is our good friend Paulie. He did the infrastructure bill, the first 500 pages, and we show how fucked up it is. And guess what, fam? We did more debating and conversating on the fucking infrastructure bill than Congress has.
I know.
That is the fucking sick point.
Both of you, join Congress right now.
Seriously. And big ups to your crew, Allie and Sebs out there, for going through this shit, because it's fucking, a lot of people don't do that, including the members of Congress.
Nope.
It's going to be a very, 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 very long month of weekends for me. With all this legislation to digest, I promise the Build Back Better plan is nothing more than a Build Back totalitarian agenda.
Yep.
Listen to our man Paulie over here, who fucking reads these things the way they slip fucking shit into the agenda. It's bullshit.
Yep. Like we said, I'm only giving you like some of the top things. It's not even all of it.
Yes, there is nothing in these bills that will not be used to imprison the common man through debt and the sword. Listen to us from a guy who reads the bills, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beginning of the end. The reconciliation bill lines up with Agenda 2030, the great fucking reset.
Thank you.
That's what's going on. We've been saying this, whatnot. Thank you, Paulie. Thank you, Ali Sebs. Let's get into this shit, guys. Let's bring this legislation to the forefront. If Congress won't fucking do it, then we'll do it here on the Convo Couch. Enough is enough with this shit. And for all you stupid cuck assholes who are supporting this thing with their little taglines, oh my God, it's going to be better for this and for that, and this is something that we want, and AOC and the squad and Rokana. No, bullshit. They haven't even debated on the floor and let the American people know what's what. And I'm going to continue to say it until you get it through your fucking head. Call your congressman. Say, why aren't you debating this on the floor? Why is it so big? Have you read the bill, Congressman? Put them on the spot. Benny Massimo, the new unelected government of New York is firing 16% of healthcare workers in New York. That's 72,000 workers, and she will replace them with foreign workers and the National Guard. They are destroying the working class so the rich can get it all. Wake up, people. Benny
That's exactly
Massimo,
what they're doing.
we know. And we know what you witnessed. We know what you went through in New York, Paisan. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And I'm sorry that you're being faced with this bullshit over here. And yes, bring information to light. Tell the people, come on the show, Benny. Let us know in the chat. Tell us, let us know what's going on in New York. And we covered this yesterday. What's going on with this fucking governor in New York, by the grace of God, telling her, mind-blowing. Shadow Band refugee Paulie, nothing is actually better than this. Given all the pipeline language and the amendments to NEPA and EPA, it looks like the water supply will be poisoned so they can sell you filtered water. These people must be stopped. Fam, how long have we been talking about the privatization of fucking water and whatnot, and that these corporations are holding water, our lifeline?
Guillotines don't cost that much to make, guys.
Ooh,
they don't.
Ooh. Benny Massimo again. All these congressional bills are written by special interests like big oil, big pharma, and big finance,
by
and
design.
the military-industrial complex. I remember that congressman from Maine. He says it's obvious that this fucking bill over here, the CARES Act, was written by a lobbyist so big that you could drive a truck through it. Something like that, he said. That's who writes these bills, ladies and gentlemen. There's no conversation. There's no talk. The bills are big on purpose, so it's just so much that you don't want to read it, and you go, okay, whatever. Ilhan Omar says it's good, fam, so we got to vote for it.
So, just guys, so because of what happened today, now we're going to go into this next section. This is the last section we're going to do on YouTube. Then we're going to go on Rokfin, and you're going to want to be on the Rokfin section because we're expanding on what we talked about with the governor yesterday. It's going to make you more angry with what we talked about. Did you want to read one
These
last
last two really quick because they just came through. Mercy me. Thanks for reading the bill. Shadow Band refugee. Paulie, put down in a link there where they can go and see your work. Anything they can catch up. I don't think you have a Twitter, maybe Allie's Twitter or something. Maybe Seb's information. You guys are doing amazing work on this, and I don't know anybody who's taking the time to do that. So please let the people know what you have found in these bills. What you showed us and we did the show was shocking. It was just fucking shocking. Because it was like, once again, it was a wolf in sheep's clothing. So please put your information out there. Let people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can see your work, read your work, and show what you're shining a light on, because nobody's doing that. And that's why I love you guys for doing that. Chuck, hey guys, asked this a couple weeks ago. Got good answers. Why don't you believe in Q? Come on, man. Are we doing this really now? But that wasn't really the question. Can you please try again? The question is, what would it take for you guys and girls to believe Q is real? Sorry, it's off topic. I wanted to ask weeks ago, but my card was declined to the ID theft. Thanks again. Chuck, reach out to us on convocouch@gmail.com, and I'll email you back. It's way off topic right now. I don't want to get into that, guys. We got so much stuff going on. But you were generous and you left a Super 8 contribution. And
I'll give you my quick answer because I 100% believe it's a psyop. 100%, because what they do is they take some truth, put it in with a lot of falsities, and that's why now you can't talk about elections, you can't talk about hesitancy, you can't talk about things, because now it's smeared as a right-wing talking point, and giving validity to things like that makes it so much worse for us trying to find the truth. So that's just my opinion. Pasta can email you his. Yeah. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate you watching regardless.
And Chuck, you could always watch Jason Burmis. He goes after that stuff and he explains it.
He's really great on that.
He's really good. So let's start talking about, fam, this is just so fucking crazy, this part right over here, because it's just like, it's mind-blowing. You know, I talked to some older people, older generations, older than me, and I know I'm the old guy here, but they even say, I can't believe what I'm fucking witnessing over here. This goes against everything this country stood for. You know what I'm saying? That the fact that our freedom of speech was so much, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know a lot of people take that to the next level. We're the only country with freedom of speech and we were founded on and whatnot and stuff like that. But the fact that we're censoring people right now and we're promoting, what's the word I'm looking for? Tribalism and stuff by cancel culture and saying that person said that person needs to be canceled. And then people cheering it on. It's disgusting.
More than that. It's more than cancel culture now. What we're promoting is fascism. What's happening is fascism. People have wondered many times how the hell the Nazis could do what they did. You're starting to find out how. We're at the beginnings of a very, very dark path where people are attempting to divide people into categories. It's not just about race. It's not even just about class now. It's about belief. If you disagree with someone's belief, you are now completely ostracized by society. We've talked about what the left, these liberals, have been doing you know, and I hate that they call themselves left because ultimately they're all fucking shit libs. But like what they've been doing is doxing people. They've been, you know, trying to smear the character of people. They are cheerleading for this massive censorship, just parading from the moment it was Alex Jones. They were cheering it on, but now even when it's people that are supposedly on their side, but they don't like, right? So Ron Paul is a libertarian, part of the Ron Paul Institute. I liked him way better than I like his son, Rand Paul. And this morning, they took down his entire channel, as we have mentioned. He said, very shocked that YouTube has completely removed the channel of my Ron Paul Institute. No warning, no strikes, no evidence. Only explanation was severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines, which is obviously false. Channel is rarely used. The appeal is automatically rejected. Help. And so let's read what YouTube told him. They said, we have reviewed your content and found severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines. Because of this, we have removed your channel from YouTube. We know this is probably very upsetting news, but it is our job to make sure that YouTube is a safe place for all. If we think a channel severely violates our policies, we take it down and protect other users on the platform. But if you believe we've made the wrong call, you can appeal this decision. You'll find more information about the policy in question and how to submit an appeal below. What our policy says: spam, scams, or commercially deceptive content are not allowed on YouTube, and blah blah blah. How this we have permanently removed your channel from YouTube. Going forward, you would not be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels.
They won't even let them create other channels.
Guys, this is fascistic. Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna read the next one.
Go ahead.
Before you go. Where's the next picture? There was another. Oh, I guess that's it. I thought there was another picture. Hold on, let me double check. Let me see. There. I guess that's it. Okay, I guess that's it.
Well,
so,
I just want to ask you about the point when it says we want to make sure that it's a safe place for all.
Yeah.
There's something more to that, to what's going on in fucking society right now. You know what I'm saying? Your thoughts on that comment, make it a safe place for all.
Yeah, that's not their place.
I mean,
what is safe?
Who
dictates what is safe? Google? Susan Wojcicki? That's who's dictating who is safe right now. Google, who is donating incredible amounts of money to the Democratic establishment, to the establishment as a whole. By the way, they literally did donate millions of dollars to the Biden administration. So that is who is deciding what is safe or what isn't. Further, not giving anybody a specific reason. They generalize, right? They do this on purpose so they can take down whoever the fuck they want. And that is arguable because people are going to say, oh, this is a private entity. It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. But no, because YouTube has grown into the amount, it's now managed by Google, and Google has so much power. These people have a monopoly on the information. They should be treated like public squares. And so, yeah. So I guess I missed one section of the picture. There was this part on Ron Paul's thing that had YouTube accounts, and they said, hello, we have received your account appeal and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Then they said, hello, thank you for your account suspension appeal. We have decided to keep your account suspended based on community guidelines and terms of service. Please visit YouTube for more information. Yep. So again, they gave him an email right away and they rejected him. Yeah. So just wanted to throw that out there.
I want to talk about more about the safe situation, because this whole kind of mentality that we're doing this to keep this a safe place. What kind of society are we raising where we have to be so safe and sensitive to people's feelings? Right? You know, when you start getting the sensitive to people's feelings, you know what I'm saying?
Which change all the time.
All the time. And it's different from one person to the other. So one person could be feeling this way and another person could be feeling that way. But you're creating this soft, sensitive, ignorant, stupid fucking society and getting away from what we fucking stand for as freedom of speech. That, hey, I might not like what you have to say, fam, but I'm going to fight for your right to say it. And that's what American freedom and freedom of speech was built upon. The fact that we can have robust conversations about these things. So the society that they're creating right now, it's just so tribal. It's so stupid. It's pandering to one group of fucking person's feelings. And those people's feelings who have those things, they're going to stand behind this shit. They know exactly who to get on their side to stand up for these things because they know the people they can move on their emotions. And that's what they're doing right here. This is building a weak society, a stupid society, a censorship society, a fascist society.
More than weak, I would say, you know, it's more than about the feelings to me. It's about control. Because it's not, they don't care about people's feelings. Like the establishment doesn't care about people's feelings. They weaponize people's feelings and their outrage
For their own.
to pass legislation, to censor, to promote their own narrative and their own agenda. So it's not even about the feelings, because there are a lot of these liberals that, yeah, there's a reason why the right called them snowflakes, because everything offends them, right?
Yeah.
But I don't care, because again, they're like, it happens on both sides. What I care about is the weaponization of people's cultural warfare, tribalism to decrease our rights as human beings, not just as citizens of this country. I mean, this country was supposed freedom of speech is one of the biggest pillars that this country has supposedly advocated for. But I mean, when you have Julian Assange in prison, and when you have this whole revelation of the CIA doing whatever the fuck they want and attempting to assassinate him, we learned that maybe that was never a real virtue of this fucking country, at least not for a long time, because the deep state, the national intelligence apparatus has taken over. And so when you realize that, it's kind of like, okay, well, now all this shit is making sense, because they don't give two shits about your feelings and they don't give two shits about your rights, but they will weaponize those feelings against you to get what you want. They did it in 9/11. They've done it throughout wars to manufacture consent for wars. It's all about fucking control. It's about obeying compliance. They don't want people who question shit. They want people who obey, and they will turn those people via their emotions against those who question. And that yet you have these people calling themselves, these progressives calling themselves fucking anti-imperialist, anti-fascist. You are none of those things. You are doing what the empire wants by cheering this on. Okay, this is ever increasingly disgusting. I said, I don't care how virtuous you feel about your ideology. Your ideology is fucking irrelevant to me. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. This is wrong. It's scary seeing the left literally cheer because they don't like someone politically. You ignorant fools, you are next. They will come for you eventually. At some point, you will do or say something you don't agree with. We said it before, and we were right. A lot of these shit libs were complaining when they were censored. Hello, Jordan Cheriton. You complained about censorship after advocating for censorship of us. Now you're like, these people, it's going to continue to fucking happen. It's going to trickle fucking down. That's the only thing that trickles down is the fucking, they never reign in power after give you more power after they rein it in. It's going to continue diminishing all of your fucking rights. And I wanted to point this out because this is Exhibit A. If you scroll down, Oz, on my tweet.
He's not on that one. He doesn't have that tweet.
Yes, he does.
Do you have it up, fam? Oz? Fiorella's tweet.
We put it in the thing.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
You got it right there.
So if you can scroll on that, Oz, if you can scroll on the tweet and you scroll one comment below, you can see my
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A.
There it is. You're right there.
And you can see Nomiki Kant's NATO fucking backed fucking shitlib. Nomiki Kant's. Will they ban the people pushing anti-vaxxers information? Advocating now for banning people who push quote unquote anti-vax disinformation. Okay, and then you have these idiots too. When will Jimmy Dore get banned, or the Convo Couch and Jimmy Dore? These people are exactly the target, if not complicit. They are the targets. They weaponize useful idiots to get the left to cheer for this. Yeah, because I don't like this person because they say things I don't agree with. Let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of them. That is not, and they call themselves progressives. They call themselves Marxists. They call themselves whatever. It's irrelevant what you call yourself, because what you are is seen through your fucking actions. Your actions show you're an authoritarian fascist, that you are okay with discriminating people for their beliefs. And that's wrong.
So small-minded, so simple-minded. It's so easy. Whitney Webb said the elites, the predator class has got to be laughing, going, ha ha, look how easy it is to pit you guys against each other. And she's right. And that's where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're at a breaking point. This is some scary shit over here. When they start taking down some of the people we're going to talk about right now, oh my Lord, One of them being Ron Placone.
Mhm.
I mean, dude, Ron Placone, like, I mean, how are you taking down homeboy? I think that personally they're taking him down because maybe his ties to Jimmy Dore's, and they are being very fucking sinister and just like evil by doing this right now. You know what I'm saying? Here's Ron Placone's tweet, and now YouTube has locked me out of my account. From what I understand, he also had problems with his GoFundMe this morning, so they went a full-fledged attack on Ronnie P, my homeboy. I don't know why they're fucking doing this, but
Ron
once
has
again,
never talked about anything related to the jab or any of that stuff at all. Not a single fucking word that he has talked about. He hasn't said anything about the elections. He hasn't done it. I mean, compared to us, I mean, Ron hasn't touched any of those subjects at all.
Yeah.
So it is really, really gross that that's happening to him in general, even if he had talked about those things. Why are we not allowed to question the state narrative? Do you see what's happening here? And these people, like, I just go back. I'm anti-establishment. I'm an anti-this. I'm anti-fascist. No, you fucking are not. Stop.
You're a cappuccino communist, a latte fucking liberal. You're a joke. And the fact that you're cheering this shit on, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Another one.
Niko House,
our friend and comrade. He said, so YouTube just suspended me for 2 weeks for, quote, medical misinformation for a video 4 months ago where I read an article where an HC professional died hours after his Moderna jab and was verified it was the shot that killed him. While LOL, facts aren't medical consensus, I guess. So I'm just quoting fucking Niko right now. And again, like, the 2 week suspension, that's money to people. That's people want to keep doing this, want to keep giving information, want to keep spreading the truth for reading an article.
Come on,
are you serious?
Come on,
dude. And like the mainstream media, by the way, this is what's unfair. The mainstream media gets to talk about whatever they want.
Yep.
Meanwhile, smaller channels are the ones that are targeted.
Yeah.
It's not fucking fair.
What about Russiagate? They talked endlessly about Russiagate for so long. Isn't that misinformation now that we're seeing this shit come out? I mean, it's laughable on its face. 2 weeks into Russiagate, we were like, oh yeah, this is a big bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? But yet they pushed it for fucking years, for 4 years, nonstop, with another nuclear power over here, pushing a fucking Cold War mentality. And anytime that Hillary Clinton had a problem, she just pointed a finger at Russia, and the mainstream media went along with it. But they're okay to do what they want to do, say what they want to say, even though they were fucking 1000% wrong, and they never have to retract their shit either. This is fascism. This is one side in leadership shutting down people who are speaking out against the fucking empire, period. And if you stand for this shit, you're a fascist Nazi yourself. You call us the Bread Brown Alliance,
the
right?
Bread Round?
I said it right. I was waiting to say it. The Red Brown Alliance, but I call it the Bread Brown. Okay? You say that's us. No, that's fucking you idiots, because you're so fucking surface level and you can't even fucking get nuanced about anything. You deserve this shit on you. And I want to wish it on anybody, because I want you to have the right to say whatever you want, whenever you want.
So I
because
can
that means
counteract
a lot.
That's it. You counteract what you don't agree with.
You use your words like an adult.
You don't fucking say, oh, we're going to put all these people in one section. We're going to eliminate them from society. So we have one society where everybody thinks the same. That's scary. I'm sorry. That's 1984 scary.
It is. Let's read these things, and we're gonna get off this channel real quick and go to Rokfin only, guys. Now is the time. Get on over to Rokfin. We're gonna be talking about more stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking more about the National Guard and what happened there, and a few other things.
Arem says, "Penny for your thoughts," with a huge contribution.
Thank you, Arem. We really appreciate you.
You are beautiful. Thank you so much. Amen. Thank you. I got to say this right now. It's always you guys who keep us going out there. Really, to tell you the truth,
Literally.
It's not about you. Our relationship with our audience has been amazing. You know what I'm saying? We might have a smaller audience compared to some of the other people out there, but we have the best audience. You guys have been great. You know, we are connected to you guys. We are very close, and we love you. And we thank you. Yes. We listen, and we thank you for allowing us to do this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, fam.
No, that's all I was going to say.
Okay. Well, Billum says, thank you for the super very contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. And El Brillante, thank you for the super very contribution. It is always appreciated, Madonna style, on the couch. And also Benny Massimo says, thanks, Benny. Thank you. We love you, brother. Benny. Reach out anytime. Let us send you a shirt or something. Hit me up on the convo couch at gmail.com. Give me your size. If you want to get one for a friend of yours, male or female, just let me know what you want, and I'll send you some shirts, Benny. You've been giving us a lot of Super Ray contribution, and we want to show our thanks back to you for doing so. So everybody who's on the YouTubes, it's time to say goodbye.
If we can put the link in the chat, somebody, the Rokfin link in the chat, that would be great. Whoever's listening.
Let me make sure that our boy.
Yeah, we're gonna get off the YouTube. We cannot. You've seen what's happened today, guys. We cannot talk about anything anymore. I probably would have put some of this on
Not
YouTube,
anymore,
but
though.
not today. Not with what's happening to our friends, and who knows? We'll be next. We've been taking out a lot of our videos, putting them on Rokfin only. Anything you want to see regarding the boop boop. Anything you want to see regarding the pandemic, please go to Rokfin. We have a lot of things we talk about over there. We're going to have a doctor, right? Dr.
McCullough. Peter McCullough is coming on the show on the 8th. That is something. There's the link right there. Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be coming on the show on the 8th. So come check it out. It's going to be on Rokfin only, guys, because they've taken him down. They've gone after him. We're not staying on Twitch. We're only going on to Rokfin only. Sorry, Twitch is owned by Bezos, so we can't say anything over there.
Yeah.
So, guys, get on over to Rokfin now.
We love you guys on the YouTube. I know sometimes
It's
Rokfin is fam. I know sometimes the Rokfin is glitchy, but yeah,
we have a song to it.
What?
You put your hands on upon
No.
my hips. When you glitch, we glitch, we glitch.
Oh my God.
You put your